play during the whatchamacallit. And like I've seen other streams where people like have background stuff while they set up, so I'm not
Mm-hmm.
worried about the people hearing us talk for a minute while I get stuff set up. Plus, lets me retweet stuff.
Nope.
Dig in my pocket for my phone so I can send a tweet out. Derp derp.
Okay. That actually looks a lot better.
It does. I like the light looks all bright and such.
Yeah.
I'm so used to like your room being like shrouded in darkness.
Mm-hmm. Oh, see, now you can see them.
Yeah.
Ugh, so I don't wear it down half the time.
I'm not gonna be mad at you if you put your hair in a ponytail for a show.
Oh, Victoria is. I don't wear it down very often just because it's kind of unruly. But
Okay.
I also don't like myself with short hair.
That's fair.
So, I mean, because it comes down to, I mean, this is how long it is.
At least you're not like a Mormon having your hair to your butt or something.
Nope. I knew some of those girls.
Um,
Apostolic Pentecostal.
bro, we have so many. I think they're German Baptists. Yeah, we have a bunch of those around here. And like they'll randomly pull up to the mire in like a horse and buggy, and you're like, what?
Well, I mean, James, we live in Amish country.
Yeah, that's true. Um, uh,
So I'm probably just going to keep vaping on screen
I've seen other people
because,
vape on screen. I don't think anyone cares. You did it last week.
yeah. Well, I haven't had a cigarette in 2-ish weeks.
That's awesome.
hmm I mean, I'm probably still
Props to
doping too high
Mary.
on the nicotine, but Victoria hasn't had a cigarette in like a week and a half.
Oh my god, that's impressive for her.
She's a pack and a half a day smoker.
Yeah, you told me that's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, we were talking about it earlier. I'm really proud of her.
That to be See, I wish a random company didn't own OCG.com because then I would just make us be IGN and just have OCG.com. It would make abbreviating so much easier.
All right.
See, like if people actually used like .nets anymore, I would just have OCG.net.
It's weird saying a .net though.
Like, okay. It's cool. We got this. Just try and have. Okay.
Oh my god, who's blowing up my Discord?
It was me and Travis because Travis was saying that he's trying to get a hold of the internet person.
He has like no luck, does he?
Nah, especially in Cali, you gotta like Matt. I probably think that like their internet providers are horrible and like trying to overprice them for everything. All right, retweeted on
Did you
OCG.
see? Oh, you can't see
Oh yeah, I
him.
saw it on your Twitter.
He's being cute.
Your ferret is adorable.
He's an asshole, but yes, he is adorable.
It's like it was well because like I think pets are like the funniest thing. Is like one day you hate them, the next minute you want to stab them.
Mm-hmm.
Derp derp. Okay. Um, Get me pull the agenda up. So I figure we could just get the Liefeld crap out of the way and then get started from there. Was there anything you wanted to add? Like, was there any other like things that are going on? Because like I know Marvel has like no news right now.
Yeah. I mean, at most, I might mention Shazam.
Okay, that's fair. We can do that. Well, like if you are ready, we can go ahead and get started. Because it seems like the archive is pulling in more views, so that's a good thing. So if anything, we'll have some people come through, and we'll just get started from there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect a lot of people to actually watch live.
I mean, hey, like, it's cool. I mean, we're already live, so we'll go ahead and get started and get cracking. Gonna flip the
Wait,
table
this whole thing's been live?
for like 3 minutes.
Oh, not like when I'm adjusting.
Well, no, like I've had the bumper up. You're fine. I told you that.
I should have done my eyebrows. It looks like I have no eyebrows.
Okay, I'm gonna flip the main screen. What's going on, good people of the internet? It is time for OnComicsGrounds.com's flagship podcast, panel to panel, where a bunch of folks shoot the breeze and talk about comic books and such. We are here for issue 2. That's not 2, that's 4, but whatever. And we are here to talk about all fun comic news and things going on in the world of nerd culture. We got some funny stuff, we got some interesting stuff, and we got some serious stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. So we are here for that. To my left, we have my amazing co-host, Mary. How are you doing tonight?
Hello, I'm doing all right. I'm nursing a bit of a cold, so I've got my sexy tenor voice going right now. You'll have to bear with me for that one.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
And I am wearing a shirt. You just can't tell with my hair, but
I mean, like,
covering my bases.
Yeah, like, I mean, like running through Twitch, just screaming, like streaking would be kind of weird.
Well, I just don't like want to adjust my hair and have somebody be like, "Is she not wearing a shirt?"
Like, nah, we're good. All right.
And
well, no, go ahead.
I did get a new snapback this week, so that's exciting.
Ooh, that's good. Like, you think
Okay.
did they not make Shazam snapbacks for the movie? Like, the new era didn't make Shazam snapbacks?
I think I saw a couple. They just weren't really my thing.
Okay.
Because I think it was like a red hat with a black lightning bolt. Like they invert colors. Because I got it at Spencer's Gifts.
See, I can't do Spencer because like snapbacks their size don't fit this big head of mine. But no, like why don't we start there, Mary? What, like, you went and saw Shazam?
I did.
I'm the creature that doesn't mind spoilers, but for the sake of the audience, what were your thoughts in a non-spoilery fashion of Shazam?
In a non-spoilery fashion, it is probably one of the best superhero movies I have ever seen.
That's a big statement right there.
I know. It is my third favorite superhero movie overall.
Wow.
Because number 1 is Wonder Woman, number 2 is Donner's Superman, and number 3 is Shazam.
Now, like, hopefully without spoiling anything, why would you say it's your like favorite about that high on your list?
Because the quality is just so goddamn good. I mean, Asher Angel, the kid who plays Billy, is phenomenal. Zachary Levi, I was a little iffy on him going in because, I hadn't really seen a lot with him in it, and it's just he really captured the role.
Okay.
And the ironic thing is that sometimes you really can't tell the difference between Zachary Levi as Billy and then little kid. Asher, yes, thank you. But no, sometimes you really can't tell the difference. And Billy and Freddie, they play so well off of each other.
That's good.
I would have liked a little more of the other foster siblings, but it's very much framed as a Billy-Freddie story.
Oh, you didn't get, like, the Mary you wanted?
No, what you do. I'm not going to go super into that. It is based very heavily on the New 52 Shazam.
Thing.
It is based very, very heavily, but Shazam doesn't look like this overly frightening Gary Frank artwork.
I mean, like, it's Gary Frank, and he, like, has that very muscular quality to him, so it makes sense.
But, I mean, what gets me is that it kind of, like, tonally, it feels like the Golden Age, almost.
Really?
Where you have this playful quality to it, but there are moments of legitimate horror, almost. And, like, kind of, gruesome, not, like, there's not a lot of blood, but things are happening.
Okay.
it's definitely reminiscent of one of those darker family movies, from like the 80s and whatnot.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual superhero presentation, it feels kind of golden agey, where it's great for kids, but it has just as much for adults too.
Okay.
There are 2 post-credit scenes. There's a mid-credit scene. 2. There's a mid-credit scene, and then there's one at the very, very end.
Okay.
There are a couple of pretty. There's a couple cameos.
Okay.
But I'm not going to go into
cameos.
Yeah, there's 2.
Okay, cool. Well, from there, I forgot a couple things. Don't forget, folks, to follow us here on Twitch for when we go live for this show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram on Comics Ground, and then follow the podcast at PTP_podcast on Twitter, and also check out our sister podcast, Panel to Panel, where not Panel. Living on the Edge.
Okay. Are you okay?
I'm overthinking because I'm frustrated at Liefeld. Well, we'll get there in a minute. Because I keep looking down at my notes and seeing Liefeld, and I'm like, but we'll get there in a minute. Well, Living on the Edge, I guess, started last night on that podcast, our Spider-Man podcast. It was really a good time talking about the Raimi Spider-Man movie. So if you want to go check that out on our YouTube channel, the archive is available there. But this topic that we are about to discuss that sent the comic collector social media up into a frenzy this week. So, last week or this, it was either last week or this week. Let me get my data in check here. Spider-Man, Deadpool 47. So, we all know about Liefeld's newest creation that he scribbled onto a napkin and gave to Marvel to get some cash. Major X. No,
how do you really feel?
The minute I first saw this,
is this new?
Yes, the first time I saw the image of Major X, it literally looked like Liefeld sat at an Olive Garden and drew the picture and was like, I could sell this to Marvel to pay my bill for tonight, and it was so obvious. And I remember someone made the joke on a podcast I listened to yesterday where they. But I'll make the joke in a second. They took Major X's real first appearance was in Death of X #1, and Jeff Lemire should get the credit because Major X looks like the Cyclops, and I was dying. But Spider-Man Deadpool came out a week early than it was supposed to. So it was about the 13th. Actually, yeah. It came out the 13th. It was come out later in the next week. And we had Major X come out the following week because Major X was supposed to come out first, and Major X was supposed to be the first appearance of the character. No one else could touch it, and Liefeld's been selling autographed copies on his website for $120 a pop, trying to get that extra cash like he's Alex Ross. And he threw a fit on Twitter and Facebook because Spider-Man Deadpool has a shot in it from the artist who included Major X in the background. Matt Hurak just was randomly allowed by Marvel to include Major X in the background because he thought the book was gonna come out after Major X. So he didn't think nothing of it, but randomly the book came out first, and speculators went out nuts. Started saying that Spider-Man Deadpool #47 was the first appearance of Major X, and everyone started losing their shit. And Liefeld comes out on Twitter, and I want to make sure that he had said, Spider-Man Deadpool is not #47 is not the first appearance of Major X. That Major X #1 is the first appearance. And that he will never sign a Spider-Man Deadpool. He'll probably rip up your copy in front of him. And I was like, what are you doing, Liefeld? It's not worth it. Why are you starting this fight? And it was this whole ordeal. And my more frustration about it was the situation of, if you look on Comic Book Roundup right now, which is basically the Rotten Tomatoes of comic books. Um, the book is getting the most horrid reviews of like a 2 or a 4 or a 5 because it's Liefeld drawing it and writing it. And it reads like the worst kind of 90s comic. And yet he's trying to hype up this character like it's a brand new thing and like it's like the next big thing at Marvel and all this stuff. And it's like, no, it's not, Rob. It's not.
I don't think he realizes it's not 1994 anymore.
That's what I think. I think he doesn't understand that, and he's trying to bang on his success. But like, you have the whole and it was causing all these problems. Like he blocked the guy who invented the Key Collector Comics app, and was trying to start stuff with people. He was blocking people left and right who were saying that it was the first appearance and not Major X, and it was this funny ordeal and I didn't understand why. Like, why are you getting so butthurt? Is it because you wanted the notoriety that your number one was the like the first appearance, so you can get all these sales? Because I don't think it's gonna get that many sales, especially if you're trying to sell 100, 150, $120 copies that are autographed. Like, I think someone even said the Wiles Portatio variant is selling more than his variants. So it's like, what do you want?
Like I said, I don't think he realizes that it's not 1993, 1994. Like, it is not. And I don't know, trying to say this without being all judgy. I feel like Liefeld is one of the guys from the old guard that has never quite been able to move on.
Yeah, that's a very fair statement.
And I mean, and you know, there are a couple of, you know, the older guys. Mike Miller leaps to mind.
McFarlane
Miller,
a little
not
bit.
Millar. Yeah, McFarlane definitely. I think that these guys, well, to a degree, are talented.
Yeah.
Comics has moved past that, and I don't quite know if they fully grasped that.
I think McFarlane does and Larson does.
Yeah.
But like I think Liefeld's problem is that he is trying to boost his like recognition because he probably charges too much at cons for autographs. That's probably one issue that there is. And there's also the issue of he's trying to make this character be like Deadpool and Cable, and it's just not going to happen. Like,
no, not at all.
It'd be one thing if it was like Riri or Gabby, and that's just two random picks. I'm not like saying those specifically, or like any character that had their first appearance in somebody else's book. Like Cable's first appearance was in New Mutants. Like if it was a rarity that your first appearance was like hidden in the back of a book, like Spider-Man, Deadpool, that would be something of note. But you saying the number one, like, I don't really see like other than Naomi recently, which is getting a lot of boom and speculation right now, whether that a character's first appearance is their number one. Like, it doesn't happen anymore. Like, I think Marvel's last time they pulled that kind of stunt was Mosaic, and even Mosaic didn't do that hot.
Mosaic bombed.
And like, it looks so promising, and it just didn't do it.
First of all, look at this little kitty.
Oh,
it's a tiny little Riri.
See, I'm not a big fan of Doors, but I love Funko for what they do, so I respect it.
Yeah, I have a couple, but
oh, bro, I have a whole.
But no, I think it's, you know, and that's gonna, you know, kind of tie into our main point tonight, that comic fans and, you know, the speculator market especially has gotten really hypercritical because the number one market has exploded. It has absolutely exploded because the number one used to be a big deal. Now you could use them as paper towels. Like,
there's some comics that like a number 2 or a number 3 of current modern books that like they're not worth the paper they're printed on, and it really sucks.
Most comics these days aren't worth the paper they're printed on because of market oversaturation.
That's insane.
Yeah. But I mean, people, and particularly, older guys who speculated a lot through the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, especially who were finding out that, who found out 10, 15 years ago that, their favorite book from the 70s is worth a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, all of my books must be worth a lot of money. And like the speculator market can get insane. And I say this as someone who's taken advantage of the speculator market before, because
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten variants, I've sold variants, like I have participated in the speculator market, but I'm not one of those crazy assholes who are selling books, trying to sell books for thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
like.
And I mean,
But
like the speculator market does have like a very friendly community. Like I know there's a lot of guys on Instagram that like are really into building a good community of people. But like, I think that the stigma of scalpers coming in and just grabbing a first appearance of a character the minute
mhm.
it comes out, and I'll even comment on that when we get to the main topic, is just it creates a bad stigma. So for Liefeld to like try to like throw his hat in there and be like, "This is the first appearance," like no one cares. Like they value the actual first appearance that is like notable. Because like even if God forbid this Mighty Deadpool book was to come out like the following week, no one cares. Like, and Liefeld can scream and bang his fist all he wants. Spider-Man Deadpool at number 47, if it's CGC'd, it's probably going to go for like $100, even if it is a crappy character like Major X. Like, and granted, Major X might be the next best thing that hits Marvel. I don't know. Like, they might even have like a Spidey Deadpool, like a Major X like kills the Marvel universe, like how Cosmic Ghost Rider is doing right now. But like, even Cosmic Ghost Rider was a random thing that um Cates did, and we didn't expect that to hit as hard as it did.
Yeah. But I mean, with something like Major X, it's probably going to float around for a couple months, maybe a year, and then Marvel's just kind of going to shoo the character off the stage.
Be like, you can
Because,
maybe go on Weapon X or something like that.
yeah. Well, I mean, Liefeld has a very dedicated following. He always has. And since, the Deadpool movie did so well, his name is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I'm sure Rob Liefeld is a perfectly
I'll lock my
pleasant
door.
person. I said, I'm sure Rob Liefeld is a perfectly pleasant person, but I get the idea that he kind of feels like his shit doesn't stink.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's a huge accusation on my part, and I know it's like a huge accusation, but to go through and start blocking people over this because your number one didn't get to be the first, like, and I understand that he probably put work maybe into this character, but it's honestly, it seems like he's throwing a hissy fit.
Yeah,
Like,
and like there's like reports that he's deleting tweets and stuff like that, and it's just it's it. I feel like the other component of it is in this day and age, a lot of people just don't know how to put the phone down when they're frustrated with
yep,
a conversation. So that's probably how it escalated even further than he wanted it to.
yeah.
But I don't know. Um,
I feel like he went off the handle and stuck his foot in his mouth.
yeah. So from there, Mary, what is our next topic for this evening? What is some of the news going on in the comic world?
I really have not seen anything big.
Well, I know there was the one thing that was the thing that blew up everywhere was the Joker trailer this week, and it like I'm mixed. I gotta say I'm mixed on it.
Same. Like, I feel like it's almost like Incel the origin story.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
the cast is phenomenal. Joaquin Phoenix, Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz. I mean, these are some very talented people. But I almost like a Joker origin is maybe not something we really needed.
see that's what I was saying. Because like, and someone was even getting hate for saying that on Twitter this week because I was like, look, Moore tried it, Snyder tried it, like Scott Snyder tried it during Endgame. Joker and like even well, what is it? Johns keeps hyping up three Jokers, but we don't know whenever that's gonna even come
Yeah.
out. Like we don't need like an origin for a character that is so iconic that he can be a joke for kids, he can be the worst kind of creature for adults,
Mm-hmm.
and he just needs to exist for me.
Yeah.
Like I watched this trailer and I was like, okay, it'll be fun, and like maybe they might retcon Jared Leto and be like, oh, this guy killed Jared Leto because Jared Leto was like a stand-in or something. Like that could happen. I don't know, but like the idea of I don't see a point.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I mean, from what I understand, it sort of exists outside of the DCEU. They might tie it in if it ever becomes convenient.
Maybe.
There are things about it that I do not like. Um, I feel like this kind of a movie, and like first of all, I don't feel that the Joker as a character really needs some kind of a detailed origin.
You know.
But this kind of like as a movie, it kind of makes me a little leery. It reminds me of the shooting in Aurora, Colorado, when it was at The Dark Knight Returns, and the
Yeah.
guy said he was the Joker, and I mean, yes, that was several years. I mean, that was because that was what 2012, 2013.
Something like that.
Yeah, but it kind of gave me reminiscent vibes of that. And that's probably me. That obviously that's not what DC is trying to do. That was a very horrific situation for everyone involved.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, especially now with incel culture being what it is, like
It kind
I've
of
got
adds a weird dynamic to the movie itself without really them meaning to.
yeah, and the fact that his clown makeup is inspired by John Wayne Gacy as Pogo the Clown.
Yeah.
And like I get what they're going for, and I think they kind of mean this to be kind of like an indie art house film,
Yeah.
But it could go a lot of right, or it could go a lot of wrong.
Yeah, like there's
And
definitely not gonna be a middle ground for this one. Like it's either gonna
no.
be really good or really bad, and that
Mm-hmm.
could I don't know, like or it could be like
Yeah.
Venom where a lot of people like a lot of weird people like it, but then like no one else likes it. It could be one of those situations. Hey, Venom was just not good. I'm sorry. Like you,
See, I know next to nothing about Venom. I don't care about Venom, and I thought it was freaking hysterical.
I just like I can't stand Tom Hardy. He ruined Bane for me. So like seeing him go
See,
Venom, like I just.
that wasn't his fault.
Oh no, it was Nolan, but like I blame him because he participated. like
Okay, I can understand that.
like you could have said no, just like he said no to being in Suicide Squad because Will Smith is getting a bigger paycheck than him. Like
Oh,
you could have said no.
yeah. Speaking of, Idris Ilba is not Deadshot.
Yes, he is not gonna be Deadshot.
Mm-mm.
And they said he's going to be a new character, and the hype is like there's two different hypes going on. There's some people that want him to be New 52 Reverse Flash, the red and black one, and some people want him to be. Oh my gosh, my dog's barking.
Woof,
Anyway,
woof, woof.
yeah, I know, right? And there's some people that want him to be Bronze Tiger. I think he would be perfect for Bronze Tiger.
He would. He would be absolutely perfect.
Like especially after like Jai Lee did Bronze Tiger and Arrow, like
Mm-hmm.
seeing the potential of Bronze Tiger in a modern setting, it definitely has me intrigued. I don't think they're like I know that like black folks are gonna be like we need a Bronze Tiger movie now, but then be like some black folks are like oh they're copying Black Panther. Like I can see it going either way, but like I do think Idris in a role. Now granted, I would rather him just be Jon Stewart. I would rather him just be
Yeah.
like even if it is like an old grizzled Jon Stewart training like Kyle Rayner or new Hal Jordan, that would be something. But like then people would compare it to Pacific Rim and I'd just be annoyed. But like this idea of Bronze Tiger, I'm just like him opposite Amanda Waller, I could really see that being a good thing.
I'm so happy she's coming back.
Yes, yes. Like I always said, if I can't have CCH Pounder, I'm like Viola Davis is a great substitute. I'm okay with this.
I mean, it may have been blind optimism on my part, but I knew she was going to come back. Wonder Woman means too much to her. Well, I think it's on the Blu-ray extras for Wonder Woman. They have a pretty extended segment with Viola Davis,
Oh,
and she's talking about how growing up, like Wonder Woman is one of her absolute favorites, and that's part of the reason why she took the role in Suicide Squad.
wow. I did not know that.
Hmm And like, as much as, I mean, we're going back to the absolutely dreaded Green Lantern here, but Angela Bassett was also perfect.
Oh, she did her best for what she could do, and I bless her for it.
Yeah, she wore that wig. She wore that wig.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think Viola Davis. I mean, there were some people who didn't like the characterization in
Oh, it was
Suicide
spot
Squad,
on.
but yeah. But I mean, the scene where she shoots everybody in the room.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah, there were some folks who didn't like that because that was more of a New 52 Waller thing, but no, I
Yeah, that's
have seen
fair.
her performance has been used.
I mean, like Skinny Waller was controversial because like you were basically just straight up fat shaming a character to make her skinny. So that was a whole ordeal in general. And then they were like, and then when DC Rebirth came around, they were like, oh, she just like really got fat in like 3 months, and it's like what?
I mean, it's possible.
And then like some
Have you
people,
seen me? It's possible.
oh, that's mean. Don't do that to yourself. But
Oh,
nah,
it's true.
it's like some people draw her as fat, and then some people will draw her as like petite because of Viola, and it's like, like you guys dug this grave for yourself because you chose to make her skinny, and it hurts you.
Because let's see, Viola's coming back. Jay Courtney is coming back as
Thank
Captain
God.
Boomerang.
Thank God.
Oh my God, I'm blanking on the actor who played Flag.
Um,
Oh my God. Well, he's coming back too. Margot Robbie is slated to come back. I don't
Joel
know
Kinnaman.
Thank you. Oh my God, it was on the tip of my tongue. I don't know if Katana is coming back. Karen Fukuhara.
I don't know if
Is it
Katana is, but
Fukuhara?
I remember Diablo was seen training with Will Smith and all them
Your
before.
sound's cutting out. I don't
Oh,
remember if it's is it Fukuhara?
I think it is her. Yeah.
Yeah, Karen Fukuhara. I don't know if she's coming back. I thought she was great as Katana.
Oh, she was
Whenever.
definitely better than the chick on Arrow. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah, I mean most things are better than Arrow,
Ooh,
but
shots fired.
shots fired. I will fire those shots.
We will have to have a conversation about Arrow one of these days.
I keep telling myself that Arrow's been canceled to make room for Batwoman, and I just enjoy that.
I mean,
Is
it
it?
probably was.
It probably was, but take that.
And like what was it? The other characters that were announced were a female version of Ratcatcher,
Yes,
Polka Dot Man, which I'm just like, really,
I.
Polka Dot Man?
I'm just really hoping this doesn't fall into the whole. This is gonna be DC's Guardians of the Galaxy. Like,
That's
no,
the
no, no, no,
rumor
no,
that they're gonna
stop.
try to make it DC's Guardians of the
But we
Galaxy.
don't need that.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, we
like
don't.
that's Gun too, so it makes sense.
I mean, I didn't hate Suicide Squad. I mean,
Neither did I.
was it great? Probably not, but it's a popcorn movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Like you
I
have
don't
to go in with the expectation that you have, and like you kids like it's gonna be amazing. Like no, you can't do
yeah,
that to yourself.
no. I mean, and like, I think it's because a lot of people compared it to Guardians when
Yep.
the properties are really so different, but it's because they both had modern soundtracks or
Hmm.
modern soundtracks.
Modern.
But then again, I am a dreaded DCEU fan, so
Same. But and then like
I
everyone's
like some of Zack Snyder's movies.
oh my god, the world's coming to an end. I mean, like
Right.
that might be a whole episode in itself. Is that like talking about like the entire thing of Zack Snyder? We might have to do that at some point. But like, and then I know that like
If you want the torches and pitchforks coming after us.
it'd be fun. I'm okay with that. But like, I know there's some people that were hotly debating if closer to the movie DC's gonna try to put a female Ratcatcher in the comics. That way they have a specific key issue. That way people can collect it because the past few weeks, ever since the announcement, people have been like, "Is the first appearance of Ratcatcher in Detective Comics rare? Is it not? Like, they're changing the gender. Is it hot? Is it not? Like, what do we do with this?"
Well, and again, that ties back into our central point of the speculator market.
Mm-hmm.
Because, tying this into, first appearances going up in price and whatnot, does it look dumb with it tucked behind my ear like this?
Oh, it doesn't look fun. It looks fun.
It did. I hate my hair. But before Batwoman made her CW appearance. I have a lot of her first
You
appearances.
have a lot. A
I do.
lot.
I have multiple issues signed by multiple people.
Wow.
So, and ironically, Greg Rucka has not signed a single one.
Really?
I have one signed by Mark Waid, Grant Morrison. Uh, I've even got one signed by Jeff Johns.
You should see if like Rucka will let you mail them to him.
Right? Like, dear Greg.
Like, can you do this for me, please? Like,
I'd almost be too nervous to send them in the mail.
well, like have like the slab ready. That way he could take them to CGC.
I don't slap my books. But no, before the appearance and before they announced them, it was worth about $2 because the cover price for the issue was $2.50.
Yeah.
It was worth maybe $3. After they announced her, it bumped up to about 15, and then just before her appearance on the CW, it bumped up to about 35.
I must say it's probably higher than that by now.
Yeah, I haven't checked in a long time, but no, it's probably a lot higher by now, and especially if the pilot does get ordered to series, which I'm about 95% it will.
What week was it?
Say what?
What week was her first appearance?
That's a multifaceted question, but 11 is usually considered. Because Kate Kane first appears in week 7.
I must say, there's a CGC 9.6 going for $70 right now.
Yeah, so there you go. But no, Kate Kane appears in week 7, and then there's an editorial issue where there was an editorial goof where we see a panel of Batwoman in week 9.
That's some Jessica Cruz type shit.
It is, because I think, if I remember correctly, I think it wasn't supposed to be in that issue, but it's one of those things that just kind of slips through like a typo. But it's a panel of her just kneeling on a rooftop staring angrily at Renee and Charlie.
So like that's like totally what we just talked about with Liefeld, where it's like it wasn't planned, but it slid through.
But no, week 11 is largely considered to be her first appearance.
Damn, there's a 9.8 for $90.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I have 6 of them.
7, 9, and 11 are on here for 170. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, jokes on these guys at a convention a few years ago. I think it was maybe 2 years ago. We were bopping around, and I saw a Batwoman Bombshells that was signed by Aunt Lucia, the guy who did all the artwork for it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were chatting up Batwoman and whatnot, and he pulled out a week 11 that he had signed by Dan Jurgens. That's the other one. I have one signed by Dan Jurgens.
Ooh.
And he knocked a couple bucks off of that for me. And he decided, since it was Sunday, I do all my shopping on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Since it was Sunday, he threw in week 9 for me too, which was also signed by Dan Jurgens and Todd Nguyen, one of the artists.
Wow.
So he threw that in for free. I mean, he was an absolute sweetheart. But like, jokes on him, I guess.
Apparently, because now it's like shooting up in price, probably
because all those books have probably shot up in price. I mean, I don't sell my Batwoman shit, kiss my butt.
Yeah. I respect that.
However, I have dragged us severely off topic.
Oh no, that's fine. Like it's still central to what we're doing because like all the speculator stuff. But no, the last topic before we get into the whole conversation of like the comic industry, like that sort of does deal with the comic industry, is these Walmart books.
Mm-hmm.
They are finally going to actual local comic book stores, and they're coming in a tradition. They're being reprinted in a traditional floppy format, and I feel like DC kind of bit themselves on the ass with this entire situation, because while I think it is admirable to try to go back to the old 7-Eleven days of like, because for those who don't know, back in the day, like when we were kids or even earlier, like right when like newsstands were sort of dying, there was the idea of putting comic books in grocery stores. Whether it was 7-Eleven, whether it was Tops, whether it was Kroger, you would see comic books everywhere. And Like it would be like mostly Marvel and DC, a couple funnies and stuff like that. So like that's how a lot of kids got into comic books. Like
Mm-hmm.
they used to have spinner racks in the 7-Eleven. I remember too. So like that I think it's admirable that DC tried, but in this day and age, I don't think it's possible.
No. And the Walmart books, they were admirable.
Yes.
I knew exactly what they were like, you know, you can kind of get a sense exactly what they were trying to do. Because I mean, and you know, I got a couple of the Walmart books.
Sam, how about the first Teen Titans one?
And you know, it was meant as something to draw kids in, because I mean, you get these massive 100-page issues for $5.
$5.
That doesn't suck. And at Walmart already, DC and Marvel both sell packaged comics.
Mm-hmm.
They come like 3 to a pack. Marvel's bundles tend to be about $10-15.
Yeah, and then I think DC's are like 8 or 9.
DC, I think maybe like 8 or 9, but Marvel bundles via cover price. But I like DC kind of meant it as an incentive, like, oh hey, here's this cool Walmart book. I want to read more Superman. Let's go to a comic book store.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. But that's not what happened.
No.
What happened is A, the speculator market, and B, retailers were pissed.
Mm-hmm. Especially when they had the whole thing where it was like the first appearance of Ginny Hex was in the back of one of them that Bendis did. So it was like if it was all reprints and it was just like a digest, like a DC digest or a Walmart digest or like a Marvel digest, where it was just like, here's a bunch of reprints for you to come into the comic shop and pick this up. That makes sense because it was supposed to be a bunch of reprints and then one exclusive story that wasn't going to be printed into a comic book. Which made total sense. But I think the problem with that is, especially with them being exclusive stories, the speculators ate it up. And then, like they were going, or like, I don't want to say speculators because there's a lot of good speculators. I want to say scalpers more like, because like the scalpers were coming through and just cleaning Walmart out. You would have pictures on Facebook and Twitter of just the whole little stand they had for the books were just cleaned out. There was nothing there, and it was depressing. So then you had kids coming in like, I wanted to get this, and there was nothing there. And then you had retailers who were buying the books and trying to resell them, and that got them in trouble.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you know, you've got scalpers, you've got collectors, you've got scanners for the pirate sites.
We should talk about that. That's my note. Yep. We should talk about that during our conversation today. That's gonna be a fun one.
Should I just read that Twitter thread I did?
Oh, I mean, like that'll be. Like, I'll have to bring up Zub's thing. But no, like that entire situation is just like it's this entire snowball effect of. We get your intention, but this wasn't the right way to do it. Yeah. And I mean, like, even GameStop has, like, exclusive covers they do occasionally where they'll buy out Diamond. Like, I know they had a Champions exclusive cover for #1 back when it first launched. And, like, that's cool and all, but, like, the idea of it can be very negative if you're not doing it correctly.
Yeah, especially since the retail market is in such trouble. So, and you know, retailers individually, they don't have a lot of power, but when they lump together, they do. And especially if you start getting some of these big retailers like Midtown DCBS, Graham Cracker has like 11 different locations. Like once these big retailers start getting involved, then you know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And any kind of deviation outside of the retail market, like it's a bit of a mixed bag, because DC, Archie, I think maybe a couple of others have newsstand contracts with Barnes and Noble.
They do.
And so
I think DC stopped it.
Did they?
I think they did.
Yeah. But no, every so often when I'd troll the magazine rack, I'd see some comic books, and you know they had the newsstand barcode. God, the funny thing, when I was still working at DCBS, for Batman Rebirth #1, don't know how, don't know why, we ended up getting a copy with the newsstand barcode.
Oh.
We didn't catch it until we were scanning some guy's order, and it wouldn't scan. And my coworker and I were talking. That's when we realized it was the wrong barcode. It was funny.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
yeah, it was because like, how does that even happen? But
Hey, put in the wrong box.
yeah, but I mean, the retail market is looking grim.
Yeah, and that can
And
spin in like into the main topic. That way, we can just speak freely on it. So the main topic of the night is gonna be us talking about the comic industry, but the comic industry as a whole. Because I wanted that like this to be like part one of us talking about the troubles the comic industry is having. Like this week will be the retail section. Next week can be the publishers. But like this week, I want to talk about because a lot of things happened this week. We had the Liefeld thing. We had a big controversy where a bunch like a bunch of different writers found out about the biggest piracy site on the web, and
mhm,
that caused a lot of drama. And there's just all the issues we've been having with like sales in general.
yeah,
And it we like I figured it'd be a fun topic, and then Mary agreed. So um, one thing that a lot of people think still is that comics are still the way they were in the 90s. That is so not the truth. Because back then you had, what, 40 million copies out each month, like
mhm.
like going on for each publisher, and that is not the thing. Action 1000 hit, oh, like, didn't it hit the million mark?
I don't know.
Like, I think either it did or it got close, and that was the first book in a long time that had
Uh,
got that close.
Star Wars #1 hit the million marker,
I forgot about Star
but
Wars.
that number is inflated, and that's the problem with these Diamond reported numbers is that they're hopelessly inflated
There's the inflation from
because
Marvel bumping the numbers up. There could be, like publishers bumping them up. There could be the variant problem.
well, here's the thing: is that Diamond. I mean, Star Wars #1 hit the 1 million mark,
Yes,
but that's not how many copies were sold. That's how many copies were bought.
ordered.
And there is a difference there. There, like, there's a difference there because retailers ordered a million copies of Star Wars #1,
Mm-hmm.
but retailers didn't sell a million copies of Star Wars #1. And I did a big ranty Twitter thread about the Diamond problem, Diamond comic distributors. I did a big ranty thread about them a couple days ago on Twitter. And, I worked at a large box online retailer. I'm sure my old boss would not be happy that I'm going on about this, but we had we had boxes of Star Wars #1 years after the fact. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, they were sealed. We knew they were labeled, they were sealed. We never opened these things.
Wow.
And the printer boxes, Marvel printer boxes, hold about 225 to about 250 books a piece.
Whoa.
So we're talking five, 6, 7, 8 boxes just sitting around. And I'm pretty sure I used one of those boxes as a coaster once. Like that's how common. And I'm not saying that to be like, haha, look how much of an asshole I am. I'm like, that's how commonplace it was because they would just get moved around. And, do you let them sit or do you sell them at a loss?
Yeah.
And that's the problem for a lot of retailers that when they over order on some of these books and they get screwed on them, what do? Do you sell them at a loss? And everyone's like, oh, sell them at a discount or give them away. It's like, but then that store is still taking that hit. And a lot of times stores can't afford to take a hit that big.
They can't.
No.
And then the whole issue with that is that we have. That's why one thing that I want to stress, and that one thing that Mary stressed in her giant thread on Twitter was, you can influence the diamond numbers by
Mm-hmm.
pre-ordering.
Yes.
Like it's the same thing with video games, where it's like if you pre-order, your number is in that giant list that Diamond puts out every month. Of like, so like in a few weeks we'll have the March charts, and we'll probably talk about them on the show. Of hey, here's the top 10 books, here's the top 300 books that were sold this month, and those numbers look insane, but it's what is the number order, not what's sold. So if you're the one pre-ordering your books, and granted, there's the whole issue of capitalism. You can't afford the book sometimes. You can only
Mm.
afford to come in on a Friday and grab it off the shelf, which is fine to a certain extent. But the idea of actually influencing the number with your actual pre-order is a big thing.
And that's something I talk about in the thread a little bit is just the stranglehold that Diamond has on the industry. Because Diamond is so large that they were investigated by the Department of Justice in the 1990s. And while
Yeah.
they were ruled to have a monopoly on comic book distribution, they did not have a monopoly on book distribution. So like actual, novels. So they ruled a Superman comic in the same realm as like a Jane Austen novel. And because
Uh,
Diamond didn't have a monopoly over book distribution, it wasn't technically a monopoly.
wow.
And in 20 years, that has changed a lot. They permeate the mainstream a lot more, especially with trades. Trades
Mm.
is what has screwed them because Diamond has a monopoly over trade distribution as well.
Trades have gotten on the New York Times bestseller list.
So,
Trades win GLAAD awards. We just had Snagglepuss win a GLAAD award. We talked about that last week. The idea that these books are not like there's what Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns are still used in schools.
oh
Like
yeah,
the idea of these books being so involved in our culture. So the idea of you going, oh, this isn't a book, so it's like a comic, so it's not really a book, so it doesn't count as a monopoly. That's kind of concerning because, and there might be a day that we talk about the entire like thing of how Diamond became a monopoly, but like it's insane.
oh, they publishers signed exclusive deals because they were trying to instead of putting books back on newsstands, they decided just to keep them purely in retail stores. And so
Mhm.
Marvel was the first to sign the exclusive. Then DC followed.
I thought
Just
DC
a
was
few
first because
days.
Marvel was trying to go with a different distributor.
Honestly, I'd have to look it up. But the big two were the first ones to fall.
Hmm.
I mean, and just a couple days ago, Ahoy Comics announced that they had signed an exclusive deal with Diamond.
Yep, and then Vault did it last year too. So
Mhm.
like
So
it,
all of
yeah.
and what we mean by signing an exclusive deal is that no one other than Diamond can distribute the book.
Hmm.
And any local comic shop that has a Diamond contract can only sell books from Diamond.
Hmm.
You can't like if you've made a comic book and you're walking in trying to get it into a store, I bet you 9 times out of 10 the store owner will turn you away because if it's not in Diamond, if it's not in previews, they can't buy it.
They
They
will
can't
lose their
sell it.
contract.
Yeah, and you can lose your Diamond contract for pretty much fucking anything. Like Diamond is just terrible, and I defy you to find me a retailer that has good things to say about Diamond.
And
Like
granted,
when
oh God,
we were unpacking a shipment once, we got a roll of paper towels. And we open up a box, go to pull out comics. There's a trash bag, and there's a roll of paper towels in the trash bag.
that's
Mm-hmm.
insane.
Diamond. Um,
Like, and granted, I don't think Diamond means to be this insane to a certain extent. Like, I feel like they're just trying to make their money and be done with it. Like, they're not like trying to
yeah.
control everything. They're even doing us a favor to an extent right now with the whole Amazon situation. So
Well,
I'll
well,
be
the
right
thing
back.
is
Keep
that
talking.
yeah. Well,
Inform the
Diamond.
people.
Now you're all mine. Haha. Oh god, that was dumb. But I can't. I'm sorry. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I don't know how many people are watching right now, but that was just really funny. Laughing because
Yeah, I couldn't
I'm
hear a thing.
sorry. I started laughing because I could just hear you yelling.
Oh, I muted my mic.
Oh, you did?
I thought
No,
I
you
did.
didn't. No.
Oh no!
I can just hear
Crap.
you yelling.
Crap, that's horrible. Oh my
Oh,
god.
it was
I
an
thought
adult.
I muted it. Oh, I must not have did it. I hit the button, damn. But go
No,
ahead.
oh god, what was the point I was gonna make? No, Diamond doesn't care if retailers sell the books. They honestly don't. Diamond cares how many books you order.
Yep.
Because comics are circumstances can you actually return a book.
And like there was
So
the whole
when a
thing during
retailer,
Rebirth where they made every book returnable.
DC met with retailers and they said, because DC had to get goodwill back after the New 52, because that last year sales were abysmal. So in order to win back retailer support, DiDio and Lee told retailers that the first 3 months of every single Rebirth book would be 100% returnable.
And that was so smart of them to do.
Oh yeah, and Jim Lee would later go on to admit that there were more returns than they had initially hoped for, but retailers ordered big. They did. They absolutely ordered big. Because for the twice-a-month books, it was the first 6 issues, and then for the monthly titles, it was the first 3.
Wow.
I mean, and even the store I was at, we returned a lot too. How we return the books is a little frightening to some. You tear the cover off.
That hurts my soul. That hurts
It saves. You tear the cover off the book. When you have to send in your damage reports to Diamond, instead of sending the whole book back, you tear off the cover. Because 9 times out of 10, the barcode's on the front cover, and you can't sell a coverless book. So you rip off the covers, and you send those to Diamond.
Oh, that just sounds so painful.
Oh yeah, there was one time I was working the store, and I was ripping covers off damages, just sitting there behind the counter, just rip.
Like
Yep.
that just cringes my soul. Like I love comics too much for that. Like that just hurts. I don't know if I could ever do that.
You have to smash damaged statues. I've done that too.
Oh Lord. But like and no. What we alluded to earlier was the whole thing happened this week with the like a few Jim Zub and then Tom Taylor got in on it where these writers found out about one of the biggest piracy sites when it comes to comics there is. Like, it's not you have to download files, it's not that you have to torrent the files or anything like that. They found just go here, read the book, and there was millions of clicks on their series. Like, I think Injustice 2 had over 1 million clicks. And it was appalling.
Injustice 2, I think it had like 6 million.
It had 6 million. Yep. 6,428,000. Yeah. And it's like I think Zelwyn's whole rant where it was like he's trying to pitch people go to your LCS. He's trying to pitch people to go to Comixology, and it's very admirable on his part because he's just trying to keep his job. He's trying to get these books out there and tell them, hey, yeah, every comic is your first, but all of these are available at your LCS for you to pick up. You don't have to struggle or read these and yep, the money can be tight, but that's there for everybody.
Because hang on. Nope, that is the wrong book. We know what site it is, but we're not going to tell y'all. We know.
Nope. He had posted everything, and it was very obvious.
Oh no! But, as soon as I saw the screen cap, I knew exactly what site he was talking about.
And because it's depressing.
Yeah, his Champions run that has 4 issues out right now has over 100,000 clicks.
That's depressing.
Over 100,000 clicks for 4 issues.
War of the Realms that dropped this week, literally the day of, already had 10,000 clicks.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that, you can go into the comments and you can see people discussing the story and they're excited for what's going to happen next. And it's like, but the more each, and there are a lot of issues that go into pirating books. I mean, you can ask my wife. I buy all my books. She is not happy about how much money I spend. Because this past week I spent 30 some odd bucks. I mean, I get 20% off cover for my LCS, but I still spent $30.
Wow, that's a week.
Yeah, that's a week. Hashtag I have a problem.
Yeah.
But I pre-order all my books, so that kind of compounds the problem. But
and it's we just saw the report. I remember Bleeding Cool put out an article this week. I forget what retailer it was, but like they were saying that if someone didn't buy the chain, they were gonna go under. And it's
Uh-huh.
like there's more comic stores being closed in America each and every month. It seems like now,
Hmm.
and it's like whether it's the old type of stores that aren't moving into the future of being like a card shop or being a collectibles shop too, while also being comic books, or it's the people who aren't making the right purchases through Diamond and running themselves into the ground,
Hmm.
or just the market not being what it was in the 90s. All
Yeah.
three are having these messed up effects on the industry.
Yeah. And I mean, you run a, like I said, there are a lot of different factors that go into this. If the only comic shop in your area is run by some creepy douche bro neckbeard, and you're like a woman who wants to read comic books and you feel creeped out going in there, you're not gonna go in that store.
Hell, the 2 towns over from here, because I go 4 towns over to my comic shop. There is a comic shop 2 towns closer to here where you walk in there, smells like Marlboros. You try to pick up a comic, like all these long boxes just have comics all over them. It's dark. He's like constantly outside smoking when no one's there, and it looks appalling. Like no one would want to go in there, and it just like you don't want to be there. You go to the
Yeah.
shop like 3 towns over, dude's like come in. We have magic on Wednesday. We have this and here, and like come in and have a good time. And it's like this is dope. You need to,
Hmm.
if you can't foster that environment, you're not gonna get people in there. You're gonna creep out people that aren't just white dudes, and it's gonna be
Hmm.
this situation of no one wants to buy the books in general. So like,
Hmm.
there's so many like elements to what it is in general, and it's crazy. Kai's in the comments, and she's saying that the piracy issues going on in like regular novels too. Like,
Oh yeah.
piracy isn't
Okay.
like a new issue, but like how bad it is in comic books is astounding.
Oh yeah. I mean, and the piracy for comics has been going on forever.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there are a lot of factors that drive people to it. I mean, you've got international international readers, if you will, who don't have access to comics and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
that will go and read these things. And I have a friend in Spain, and we were talking about that. And after my thread, she sent me a message. She sent me a message, and she says, "Do you know anything about international distribution?" And I really don't. And she
Mm-hmm.
said that she has to order her comics a lot from either the U.S. or she tries to get them from the U.K. sometimes,
Dang.
because as opposed to trying to read English translations and whatnot. So, I mean, that's got to be pricey. And I mean, I don't think she doesn't read a lot, by the way. Hi, Laura. But like when she latches onto a book that she really wants to read, like Batwoman, she was ordering it from the UK.
And like there's the talk of digital, and digital is a double-edged sword because you have
Mm-hmm.
things like Amazon who bought Comixology and does things, but then you have the situation with Amazon where it's like they weren't doing a Hellboy sale for the upcoming movie, but then you look at like for Comixology, but then you look at Amazon. Amazon had almost every Hellboy trade in existence on sale for $8, but then it will get automatically sent to your Comixology account, but it's not that
Uh-huh.
price on Comixology. So
Mm-hmm.
their system isn't the same thing, and it causes problems. And there's other different companies that do digital books, like your local library has a
Yes,
thing.
Hoopla.
Yeah, Hoopla does that whole thing where you can check out trades, and that's the other thing too. Trades in general are a big burden on the industry too. If you're
Mm-hmm.
just trade waiting, book ain't gonna
Yeah.
make it to trade. That's what happened with Iceman. That's what happened with Wasp. People, or in America, even though America was a horrible book, like
Yeah. Um,
like
but
people trade waiting hurts the book.
yeah, and I can tell you, as a somebody who worked in a retail shop, the way Diamond has such a stranglehold on the industry, the only surefire way to support a book, that to make sure the book continues, is to pre-order the print issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can pre-order the trade, you can buy it on digital, but publishers, I mean, this is literally just the book that was closest to me. I'm not like, but especially like, DC and Marvel and whatnot, they drink the diamond Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm. Sadly.
And pre-release cancellations are not uncommon. I'd say probably the most recent, most famous example is Angela, Queen of Hell, which was canceled before the first issue even hit stands because the print pre-order numbers for the first 2 issues was too low.
Hell, Black Panther and the Crew.
Got canceled after 1 issue.
Hit the first issue, and because sales were that bad, it didn't make it out there. That's why when you'll see my giant article I done on the website where I was like, look, folks, y'all love Black Panther. That's awesome. I love Black Panther too. I've been waiting for a black superhero for years. But if you can't support the book, it ain't gonna be here much longer. Like, sooner or later, Marvel's gonna get tired of printing Black Panther books and the sales only being in like the high hundreds. It's gonna be a problem sooner or later. Black Panther and the Crew and Black Panther World of Wakanda, 2 books that were getting critical attention, especially with World of Wakanda, with having a lesbian like a love interest there. Those books were getting like critical acclaim. Canceled.
And they got canceled. And World of Wakanda sold really well in trade.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, pre-ordering a trade is still detrimental. Mm-hmm. And this is where it kind of gets frustrating, because I'm sure somebody somewhere is sitting there going, well, if I want to wait for the trade, what the hell am I supposed to do? Fortunately, publishers are starting to take notice.
I said, as a trade waiter who has no space for floppies, I feel so called out right now.
But see, that's the problem, is that when we have these conversations, it's often that we're trying to shame people. That's not what we're trying to do. We're pointing out that the system is so broken that, I have 15 short boxes just in the bedroom.
I got 5 long boxes sitting here with all my shit.
Yeah. I mean, like, this right here to my left is a problem. Like, let me see.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Look at all that.
That's a lot of books.
That's like a month's worth of books.
Here, let me see if I can. There's my long boxes and all my Funko Pops over there.
Yeah. I have not vacuumed the floor, so you guys don't get to see the boxes under the bed. But no, everything that I just showed you is from like a month. Because, Mary has a problem.
Mary has a problem.
I do have a problem. Ask Victoria.
Kai asked a very good question. How do you feel about digital first binge read style Marvel is doing? The Jessica Jones and the Luke Cage and the Iron Fist Daughters of Dragon. The latter 3 are canceled. They didn't make it past trade 1. Because if you look at June's solicitations, they're already being printed in trade, and they're not doing hot. Jessica Jones is the only one that made it to trade 2.
I have mixed reactions about those books.
Talk about it.
Because as somebody who worked in an LCS, because I worked in the warehouse, in the storefront, I am very defensive of them.
Why?
Because there's something about it that is so intrinsically linked to comic culture, and I think that they can be safe havens. They can be these avenues where geeks can be geeks, kind of a thing. Yeah. And, I had the very distinct honor of being able to work for a store that is owned by women, that the entire executive staff, if you will, is all women. The people working the store were all women. So, and half of us were gay. So we had, I had the good fortune of being in this really cool environment where, there was a lot of men there, but there were also a lot of women, and, women got to be up front. And, I had a lot of older guys who would come into the store and not really know what to do. There was one guy. There was one time a very older man came in. I probably put him late 50s or whatnot, asked to speak to a male coworker because he didn't know if he had a specific question. And this particular coworker, he was fantastic because it was a question about Superman. And the male coworker just pointed at me and went, "She'd know, I really wouldn't."
That's funny.
Oh, yeah, no, all of the guys I worked with, they were fantastic. I mean, it was such a cool environment to be in. And so I had that, literally, I had that honor of being in a super welcoming environment where it was a really cool dynamic, and we got to see all kinds of people who come in. I had a particular experience, and that's all I'm going to go into. It involved Supergirl. I had that experience, and I think it was the environment of the store that really helped with that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got the assholes. And that's
Yeah.
kind of where I get, that's where I get a little wonky on that, because I want to defend the good stores because there are so many of them, but there are just as many stores that are toxic environments to women, to the LGBT community, to people of color.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are a lot of really toxic environments. So like I got my shield in one hand where I want to protect the stores, and then I got my pitchfork in the other where I'm like, let's get rid of the assholes.
Yeah.
So, and Marvel was probably doing it as a way to punish retailers. I'm gonna be honest with you, because when Marvel pulled the digital codes from their books and replaced it with those 3 first issues of these random trades,
That was so bad.
retailers were pissed because people were canceling their Marvel orders
Mm-hmm.
because they were buying the print copies to get it at a cheaper price. Because most stores will offer you a discount if you have a subscription box.
Yep.
So, I mean, even in my store, we had people canceling Marvel orders because why were they going to get this issue when they just wanted the digital book?
Mm-hmm.
So, and, not too long after all of that rigmarole and retailers get mad, and a way that retailers fight back is that they will fill their subscription boxes and then order nothing else.
Damn.
So that's really a way a retailer fights back, is that they will order for the customers that specifically requested them, but they won't put anything on the wall. It's not a practice that retailers engage in regularly, but that is the surefire way a retailer can fight back. And when there was pushback against that, Marvel really didn't like it. Marvel and the retailers have issues. DC is constantly trying to kiss retailer ass, but no, Marvel and retailers don't always get along. And again, tinfoil hat theory is that Marvel was trying to punish retailers with these digital first books. But at the same time, these digital first books could potentially bring someone into a store.
Yeah, and now granted, I see what they were doing specifically because while Daredevil will always sell well because it's Daredevil in terms of like print books, there was the issue of like Luke Cage and Iron Fist weren't doing well, but that's because you shouldn't have split up the team, Marvel. You should have let Sanford Green and David F. Walker keep the book, Marvel. That's not the point. And like those two separately weren't doing too hot, and they tried to do a Daughters of the Dragon book with Misty and Colleen trying to like score points off of those people who really liked those two as a dynamic together because they had a thing in the past. And then there was people who like really liked Jessica Jones, and the digital sales just weren't enough because yes, the conspiracy theory is that comicsology slash digital sales make up about 10 to 20% of all comics sold. That's the conspiracy that I hear. But the idea of just going, this is digital first, and then it'll be in trade later. Like, it's an interesting concept, but and they were kind of smart to do it with their Netflix books, but at the same time, and like they even tried it with Cloak and Dagger. They tried to put like Cloak and Dagger as a digital first book and then print it in trade. But I think the problem with it was, I think DC figured it out first, where with Injustice, where it's
they release it weekly,
but also it's digital first for like a couple weeks, and then print comes out.
I think they started doing that with Bombshells, or at least I know Bombshells was the first big.
Yeah, I think it was Bombshells.
I think it was Bombshells was the first big time that they did it on a wide scale, because they would release 3 parts of the issue. Because each week you would have a digital chapter, and then 3 weeks after the issue, 3-4 weeks after the issue would come out.
Yeah.
And then the story would keep going. Then eventually there were some issues where, the print issues got pulled back for a little bit. So the digital issues were actually a little further ahead into the future, because I got the digital copies, the print issues, and the trades.
Yeah.
Because, again, I have a problem.
And like, go ahead.
No, the digital first thing that Marvel's doing, it's a bit of a 3-pronged issue. Because are they punishing retailers? Are they trying to bring in new readers, or are they trying to court female readers? Because, with those books that you talked about, I will bet you dollars to donuts, as my mother would say, that female readership was a large part of that. And they can get away with basically doing all. Because with publishing them physically in trade, Marvel can go, what? We don't hate the retailers. We're putting it out in trade.
Yeah. Musa Man said that I love you guys. Okay, good night. So
your sound cut out. Can you repeat that?
Musa Man, like the username, said, "I love you guys. Okay, good night."
Right.
I honestly don't know who that is, but that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the love. Thank you for the love.
That's awesome. But no. So like, I think that now, granted, I remember what was it? Who I'm trying to think. Whoever wrote Mighty Morphin Power Rangers until recently. I can't think. Whoever he had a book at DC. It was a Batman Beyond book that took place in the canon for a while, and it was an idea to bring Batman Beyond in and test him before they brought him back in, like with Future's End. It was before Future's End, and it was digital first, and then they tried to do trade later. So I think DC cracked the code on it, and Marvel just didn't keep up with it. That's my grand theory about that, is that they didn't take the cue from DC of going, okay, we did this first, didn't work. Kyle Higgins did the Batman Beyond book, and like DC workshopped that whole idea beforehand, but Marvel was like really early on with it. Now, granted, that is a good idea that like they were trying to hook in the women and the people of color with Luke Cage and all the other books. That's a good idea, because you had, I remember when they had the whole issue of Marvel Legacy where they canceled Wasp, America, Luke Cage, Gwenpool, and Iceman all within like a week. There was all of the LGBT, all the people of color, and all the women who were like, "What are you doing? Why are you giving into the alt-right idiots? Why are you canceling our books?" And it's because the pre-orders just weren't cutting it. You may have been buying every digital book, or you were waiting for the trade, or vice versa, or both, buying the digital trade. You may have been supporting the book, but it doesn't do what you want it to do, and it sucks. I know it does.
Yeah. And like I said, that's how much of a stranglehold Diamond has on the industry, that these sales for the little print floppies, they add up to the numbers that matter according to Diamond. But like I said, the publishers are starting to listen, because Iceman and Wasp were canceled, but they sold so well in trade, and the demand for these two books was so high, they bought both of them back.
Yep, they did.
Iceman was a mini, wasn't it?
I think it was a mini, and I think Wasp is like dancing on the teetering on the idea of mini, same way that Falcon did, where they were like, they're not gonna say it's a mini, but like it could be a mini if you guys don't support it. That's what I think they're doing. Because I was pissed when Falcon got canceled. I was like, we fighting Mephisto, we killing vampires, Blade and Brother Voodoo are making cameos. This is fun, and then it was like canceled. And I'm like, why?
And that's where it all kind of starts to fall apart, is that the narrative in comics has kind of taken a step back again, because the people who buy the diverse books and whatnot largely do not pre-order the print issues, because it's such a toxic environment. And like the big question is how do we fix this?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that I know that Midtown does that could be a very good, MidtownComics.com, the idea of digital sub-box, or like online sub-box that gets mailed to you.
DCBS and Midtown both actually do online pre-orders. It's a mail order service.
Yeah.
I worked at DCBS. I know with both of them you can get like 40% off. And I really encourage that if you have a toxic shop in your area. If you don't have a comic shop in your area, or if you've got one that's really shitty, maybe look at a mail order service.
Yes. because your number would count with that, because they would go, oh, because like if you look at Midtown right now, they have a button under all pre-orders where it's like, hey, do you want to add this to your sub box if you make an account? And they'll add it to your sub box every week or every month. If you pay the shipping and pay the cost, they will send that to you. And that's a really genius idea. Like, granted, for those big box stores, they're going to keep them busy, but like,
Oh yeah.
the idea of you having a safe way to order your comics, that's a great idea.
Oh yeah.
Now, if you want to be like me with my big ass long boxes, because my genius plan is to buy it all in singles and then sell it to somebody who likes collections and then buy it all in hardback because I'm that guy.
No, I just kind of like stack mine. Victoria says if I get any more boxes, she's going to start building furniture out of them.
That's hilarious.
Expect my short box couch to be coming very soon.
That would be the greatest thing. Like, she puts like little cushions on and puts a sheet over it. That way it doesn't damage anything.
Pretty much. Yeah, she'd do that. But, and like, unfortunately, like, it's hard for us to sit here and like, you should buy print issues. But, like I said, this whole issue is it's so fucked.
Yeah.
But like I said, retailers are taking notice, and if you've got like no space and you buy digital only, keep buying digital.
Yes.
And make your voice heard. Tell the tell the publishers what books you like. And it was that kind of vocal outcry after the cancellations of Iceman and Wasp that brought those books back, because the more you tell them you want it, the more inclined they are to give it to you. Mm-hmm. Even Action Lab did that with Raven the Pirate Princess, which was teetering on the edge of cancellation because it didn't sell in print. Yeah. And even I wasn't buying it in print because it's hard to come across. But the outcry for potential cancellation was so high that Action Lab flipped it to digital only. But no, the book has continued for at least a year or so after the fact.
Oh, well, I mean, if it works.
It was a massive campaign, but the book is just now digital only.
I mean, hey, like if it's selling, like that's the good thing about that. So like,
it's selling.
There is a benefit to digital. Now, I will say, don't attack publishers and be like, you canceled my book. Don't do that. But like, say, hey, I really like this book. Can it please stay? Hey, here's my receipt from, like, don't put your credit card information, but like, hey, here's my email from ordering this book. Can you keep this book in print? Can you make it a digital only if it isn't doing well? Like, that can be an idea, because I wish I could see the numbers for Cloak and Dagger, how it did in trade, because it just hit trade. I would love to see the numbers for digital on that one, because the fact that with the TV show getting a second season, it might be doing well. I don't know, but like, we will never know. So it's like, the idea of digital being this resource that publishers can use is a great thing, but there has to be more of a balance and more of a respect for both, I think.
Mm-hmm. And DC was doing well with trying to court the digital market there for a while, because when Rebirth kicked off, all of the titles were $2.99.
Mm-hmm. When
they upped the monthlies to $3.99 because they included the digital code in it.
That was smart for them to do that, though.
Copies stayed at $2.99 because you're paying the extra $1 for the digital code. Yeah. And, that was a decent way to court digital readers. And, if you didn't want to spend the extra $1, you could just buy it in digital.
Mm-hmm.
But then they yanked the codes out like we all knew they were going to. And now they put codes in the first issue and then in nothing else. Hint, hint, DC, get the...
Yeah, but then there was the thing they announced last week of... Now we have DC Universe. And now DC Universe and Marvel Unlimited and Comixology Unlimited are about to be these 3 pillars that are going to be another problem with retailers. So there's benefits to those. That could be, there's also detriments to those, because now it's similar to GameStop, where GameStop's bread and butter has always been used games. Comic shops make good money off of back issues. So they just got hit in the knees a little bit, because now DC's going, hey, we want to play toys with Marvel Unlimited too. Here's that. Which, DC, I know it's a process, but like, if you could just add the rest of 2003 Teen Titans so I can finish and like read it all again because I love that series. That would be amazing. They gave me all of Young Justice. I need all of Teen Titans, like that, and like they gave me all of Aquaman New 52 too. Like I'm like, oh, it's so nice. But like I need everything. Like I need my Legion books. I need my Batman. Like I get to read Snyder's Batman again, and I'm freaking loving it. I'm a sucker, man. I could just listen to Scott Snyder talk about architecture for like the rest of my life. Like it's so nice.
He said fanboying on the internet.
Yeah. Okay, but no. So I think this was a very healthy conversation of us sitting here talking about like, yes, there are problems, but there are ways to fix it. I don't really know if there is a way for retailers to really fix their problem other than
Not really.
make your environment better.
Yeah, and that's why I say, because on Twitter as well, I started, my big question was, hey, do you guys have an awesome shop? Let me know. And, you know, there was a group of us, we were all retweeting it and trying to promote good shops. And, you know, I'm from the Midwest, James, you know this. We're all about small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Small businesses are the backbone of our economy.
Yes.
So, you know, we're all about small business out here. And we tend to bend over backwards to want to support them. And, you know, they're usually mom and pop shops, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Lost my point.
I think the point you're getting with is like small businesses are a great thing, but it is a detriment. It's like I think point one should be make your environment welcoming. Like if someone comes in and doesn't know where the hell to start, like that's point one. If you can, if a person comes into your shop, said, "Hey, I saw Endgame. I want to read some Avengers." Point them to Aaron's Avengers. Point them to, don't give them Hickman. Their brains might melt. But sadly, give them Bendis's New Avengers. Give them things that can get them into the series. That way they can enjoy it. But yeah, don't give them Hickman. They might die. But maybe a couple years, give them Hickman. But make your environment welcoming. Bring them in. Like have events. Have Free Comic Book Day is always a great thing that's coming up soon.
Yes. Free Comic Book Day is always a boon.
Yes. So, if you go to Free Comic Book Day, come back. Don't just come for the free book. Come back for the next issue because, Marvel and DC do those things where they're like, hey, we'll advertise our next event in the Free Comic Book Day. That way you can come in and read that event. Do that. Enjoy that idea. And then from there, I think the better idea is just to, don't close yourself off. If your comics aren't doing well, have Magic the Gathering, have Pokemon, have collectibles like Funko Pops. Do what you have statues. Do what you got to do to make your money so you can stay around. From there, we will move into the wrap up of the show. One thing we're gonna start doing every week is having weekly recommendations for books that are coming out. This past week, since we didn't do it last week because of the Batman celebration, we will talk about this past week's books. Mary, what was a book that you read this week that you just love?
Summit.
What's Summit?
Summit is a superhero book from Lion Forge in their Catalyst Prime imprint, which is it's super reminiscent of Milestone, and I'm so happy because Well, no, it is. I mean, it is an imprint that is led by people of color, by queer people. It is a modern day Milestone.
Okay.
Oh, that means two things actually. But no, Summit is about a scientist who develops superpowers, and she likes a plus for me. No, I'm not getting a reaction from that, James.
Oh wait, no, I was pulling up my thing. What did you say? I'm sorry. I was pulling up my recommendation. I didn't hear what you said the last part.
No, I made the joke that Val, the central character, likes ladies, and that's a plus for me. Yeah, pretty much. But I think one of the more interesting things is that it is a science-y superhero book, but it is solid science because Amy Chu, the writer for this book, has a background in science.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like bullshit comic book science. There's a little bit of fantasy science, but a lot of the science is based in reality.
That's probably why Green Hornet had a lot of scientific shit in it.
It's because Amy Chu has a background in STEM. And she also did Poison Ivy, Circle of Life and Death. So, no, she's got a really heavy science basis in all of her books, and it's solid, and it doesn't seem like, Tony Stark make-believe of, I'm going to upload my consciousness into a computer.
Ugh.
So it's well written. Val is a layered character. She's not the gay superhero. It's got a great cast of supporting characters like Lionforge and Catalyst Prime are doing really cool things. I think it's a new breed of superheroes for a new generation. And check out pretty much everything. Summit just happens to be my favorite. There's Noble, who reminds me a lot of Icon. The Astonisher. I mean, they've got a bunch of different books. They've actually launched a couple more new heroes because Gail Simone is their creative director now.
Okay.
Question mark. Ian would know. But, legendary writer Gail Simone is really going to be helping them shape the universe going forward here. It is just a book I'm very excited about. I'm working on trade reviews for the first 3 volumes of Summit, so keep an eye out for those on the site.
Okay.
So that was this past week for me.
What is your recommendation for next week for readers to pick up at the local comic book shop on Wednesday?
For next week, I'm gonna have to say Unstoppable Wasp.
Okay.
Because this past issue dealt a lot with Nadia inheriting her father's bipolar disorder, and it was a really well-written storyline. And mental health and superheroes can be something that can be muddled real easily. Here's a crisis. But this was an in-depth look at mental health issues and the way it affects teenagers. And this next issue is the conclusion of that arc, and we see the resolution. And I'm really excited to see that resolution and to see how the rest of her friends, who had varying reactions, all kind of come together with that. We actually were able to sit down with Jeremy Whitley, who is the writer of Unstoppable Wasp, and we did an interview with him about Unstoppable Wasp. Blah, that is a mouthful if you've got a list.
Unstoppable Wasp.
Yeah, I have a list. But Unstoppable Wasp numbers 4 and 5. So we talked with him about that. You can check that out on the website as well. And he really has a lot to say. He did his research, and I'm very excited to see this next issue on Wednesday.
Okay. My recommendation for last week. I'm gonna dive in the indie pool with you a little bit. So, Image has a book out right now by writer M.D. Marie. Vindication. It's this, like, I don't know why, but like all these people making these books about like racial issues in the country have been so great. You've had Brian Edward Hill over at DC writing books. You have Bitterroot at Image right now with David F. Walker, and now you have this book, Vindication, where it's a story about a young black guy being like investigated for like a murder that was similar to one that he was exonerated for because he was falsely accused in the past, and it's really good. It's a mini-series. It's only going to be 4 issues. It's on issue 3 right now. You can probably go back on Comixology and get the other 2 while you're picking this one up this week, and it's really good. I highly recommend it. This week, on the other hand, if I flip over to my listing here, is somewhat indie, but not really because of the notoriety of it. Scooby Apocalypse is finally ending after being on store shelves for 3 years. It was the only Hanna-Barbera book to survive all of the cancellations, because when it first started, you had everything. You had, what was it, Wacky Raceland, you had Flintstones. Like you had all these books, but now it was just like Scooby Apocalypse that was left. And, Mary's gone. Where did Mary go?
I'm still here.
Oh, you were a black screen for a minute there.
Am I?
But no, like Scooby Apocalypse was the only one left, and it was written by Keith Giffen the whole time, except for like randomly Jim Lee wrote 3 issues towards the beginning, and then the whole run was by him. You had Jan DeMatteis doing backup stories of like Atomic Ant and Secret Squirrel being in real life, which was so weird. Like Secret Squirrel in real life was just weird, but like it was such a good, intriguing story. And then Jan DeMatteis was able to do the final issue for the series. It comes out this Wednesday. The entire series is out in trade except for Volume 5 that will be out in May, and then I think Volume 6 will be later, like in the fall, because of the last issue being this week. So if you want to catch up, please do if you're a big Scooby-Doo fan. It's definitely a different turn on things than
It's
you would.
dark.
It's very dark and very creepy, and it definitely scratches that like you're a big Scooby-Doo fan, but you're an adult now. So, like it scratches that itch that you wanted like from now. It's so nice. So I highly recommend that book. So yeah, there will be occasions where we don't just pick random big two books. We'll like dive into some indie crap because we're those kind of people. So, Mary, what is your closing statement for episode 2 of the show?
My closing statement is that my TV is being weird. No, my closing statement, James.
You're frozen, and like
Am
well, you're like
am I
you're
frozen?
yeah you're frozen, and it looks like you're doing this, and it's really
Oh
fun.
God damn it! It's still frozen.
Yeah, it's still frozen.
Ah, no.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Now you're just a little blurry.
I knew my internet was going to sabotage me at least once.
Okay,
Am I-
now you're just frozen again, and you're
You
smiling.
know what?
There you go. Mary, what's your closing statement for episode 2?
My closing statement is screw my camera. But no, support local retailers.
Okay, that's a very fair closing statement. Did Mary die?
No, God damn it, I'm still here.
Okay, cool. Well, that is a very good closing statement. Support local retailers; they definitely need your support. Support the comic industry. They really need it. My closing statement is basically the same thing. Support local retailers, support the comic industry. Thank you all for being with us here. Travis wasn't able to make this episode because he was having internet trouble as well, but we wanted to focus this episode on the comic industry a little bit. That way, it can give you guys a little bit of a look inside that. But also talk some news because there is like this is con season, and we're like in between that period of like we're not at San Diego yet, so like we're kind of in a dry spell. And Endgame is in a few weeks, so like there isn't that much, but we still wanted to have like a main topic that was important. So thank you guys for whoever watched. We really appreciate you coming through, and anybody who watches the archive because I thought there was like 30 views on the archive, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. So like anybody who watches the show, we really appreciate you coming through.
Yes, thank you.
Don't forget to check out oncomicsground.com for all your written reviews and opinion pieces. We had all these amazing opinion pieces that were turned in this week. That'll be coming out this week, so check those out. Check out our recent ones and whatnot. Follow us here on Twitch at twitch.tv/oncomicsground. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at oncomicsground, and follow the podcast at ptp_podcast. And also check out Living on the Edge podcast, our sister show, where we talk about Spider-Man, all that different stuff. I know Alec is doing this whole thing where he talks about each Spider-Man movie leading up to Far From Home, so please check that out. It's really cool. And then we will catch you guys next time. Peace out.
Bye.